Ask Tom on Home Show.
Scott from Deer Park, Texas has a question about building specifications.
He does. He needs help deciphering these building specs, Tom. So if you could help him right now, I'll leave them up there for you.
let me get really close.
Okay. Scott writes, I have a design for our new home in Beach City, and the space would be wide open with a cathedral ceiling, and I'm also considering Daikin mini splits throughout. I've heard you discuss sealing up the attic area, and can you please help describe what my architect called out for insulating the underside of my roof? I see 1-inch spray foam. What's your advice? And here, to help you out, Tom, I've blown up that one section here where it says spray foaming shall be 1 inch thick, sprayed in place polyurethane foam applied to prepared plywood deck, etc., etc. What are your thoughts on that?
If you sealed it up, I don't think you'd have a problem. I don't think it's the way to go. I wouldn't go that route because you can't use a radiant barrier. And I want you to use a radiant barrier, so I would tell you radiant barrier roof decking throughout the entire house, number one. So that's just foil on one side. They put the deck down and boom, that's the spec you should have. Now, if you're going to use a foam in tightened enclosed space, you would put the foam down against the back of the sheetrock. That's where your insulation should go. Or if you use a fiberglass like I would, make the cavity a little deeper and put your insulation, a little bit of airspace just so it doesn't touch the radiant barrier roof deck. I think that's going to be 10 times better because now you have a radiant barrier which does not have to be vented if you have a really close space. If you can vent it, that's even better, but if you can't, close it up. But the fact that you're putting foam against the bottom of the roof deck doesn't allow you any radiant barrier, and I think that's a problem, number one. Number two, I think in all my experience and everything I've ever done, one of the rules is the insulation, which is the R value, goes against the skin of the conditioned space, the skin being, in most cases, sheetrock. So you have sheetrock, you have the insulation against the sheetrock touching it, then whatever airspace, whether it's just a little 3/4 inch or if it's a whole attic, it's still an airspace. And then underneath the roof deck is a radiant barrier. In new construction, you just buy a roof deck with foil on there. Georgia Pacific, you can order the plywood. Radiant barrier is already glued to it. It's already perforated. And then you put your roof to it. You have the perfect sandwich, whether it's a small airspace, unvented or vented, or a large airspace, unvented or vented. If it's a large airspace and you can, vented is better because the volume of air is going to try to collect a lot of moisture and the ventilation releases the moisture. The smaller airspace, it won't hold as much water because the volume isn't there, so you can get away with it. And a lot of times with cathedral ceilings, you can't really vent them, so it's best to close them off. If it can be vented, great.
Now, the challenge, there's all great advice. And I think you're spot, obviously it's what you've said for years and I've seen it proven out many times, but isn't it a little late in the game for him to be kind of negotiating that kind of detail change if it's already in the plans and they're moving forward on the project?
It's a good question, Charlie, because at most point, when you hire a builder or you hire an architect, the professional you hire, home designer, could be a lot of different things, you're really trusting them to make these decisions. Because people, the lay person, so to speak, that's such a weird term, but that's what it is, doesn't have all the education, doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the background. So you're hiring this person like you would a doctor to perform surgery on you to know more than you do. So it's tough for a person to hire a builder and then have to tell them the way it needs to be done. And it's great to have us here at HomeShowRadio be the ones that can, answer these questions for you. And sometimes it is late in the game. And I appreciate people putting their trust in me and asking these questions. And I try to be as helpful as I can. But that's something that people are going to have to work out. And I'm not sure what to say about it because a lot of people hire someone else to make the decisions, and you should have a trust in that person you're hiring. So it's hard for me to tell them exactly to go up to someone and say, don't do it that way because Tom said do it this way. So I'm not sure where to go with an exact answer on that question, but I know exactly where you're coming from.
All right, wherever you're coming from, we'll help you get to where you're going. Click on the Ask Tom button at HomeShowRadio.com. Hey, Mr. Segway. You can send us a form, you can send us a video, but really helps is when you send pictures, and you can do that right there on that form down at the bottom where it says Pictures Help. Send them to us so we can help you. We post a new one of these every day, in case you didn't know that. We put them on our YouTube channel at Home Show Radio YouTube. Home Show Radio on the YouTube. I'm just off my game today. Anyway, and you'll find them
YouTube.
also. You know what? Where else would you find them? Maybe at HomeShowRadio.com, along with a lot of other stuff. Yeah, why I gotta tell you.
Got no respect.
None at all.
Okay.